Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, new tapes being released of former President Joe Biden, something he has fought for years to keep private, now being released. About 70 hours of audio recording shared with CBS News. And they were cited in the 2024 special counsel's report, which said that Biden kept lots of notes at his home, which included classified information. And he should not have, because remember, at this timetable, especially when they were going back, it's tied to the 2017 memoir. And it's when he was working with a ghostwriter, saying he obtained a lot of this information while he was vice president, but most of it while he was senator. So there's a lot of questions, because neither of those should he have had access to classified documents where you can take them home. It wasn't like he was looking at them in a skiff, and he was apparently sharing them with his ghostwriter, who clearly did not have classified material clearance. And here's a little bit. This just came out a little bit, guys, here on the Rita Cosby Show. Here's a little bit of one of the tapes from Joe Biden. Take a listen.
And then next thing you have here is this is classified. It's all of it. It goes to the 17th.
Classified information seems meandering, seems not connecting, which is probably a lot of the reason he did not want it out. And also, let's not forget, remember the special counsel in his case, Robert Hur, gave him a free pass. Remember, it was like he was too feeble, well-meaning elderly old man. I guess it's okay to have the classified documents strewn all over the garage where Hunter Biden was hanging out, and also for him to be sharing it with a ghostwriter who clearly did not have classified clearance, nor did Joe Biden. Remember, President Trump had the ability to be able to do that. Remember, full throat, President Trump absolutely had the ability. Remember, because he was president. He was allowed to declassify at any time, and yet they raided his home in Mar-a-Lago. So very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what else we get. We'll see also if we can get clearer sound there for you, but you can hear he's sort of grasping, trying to figure out his words. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Meantime, a lot of details tonight here on the Rita Cosby Show when it comes to President Trump and Iran. There are so many details about where things are headed next. And everybody wondering, what is the next step? Well, tomorrow, President Trump will, of course, honor the great Lindsey Graham, who I absolutely love, the senator. And, of course, he will be there. Not only, also Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be there. And also Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine is going to be there, because Lindsey Graham was a great friend to Israel. Lindsey Graham was a great friend to the Ukrainian president. And for all of those reasons, they are there to honor him tomorrow. And of course, very close. Probably no senator was closer to President Trump than the great Lindsey Graham. And there's a lot of questions tonight where the war is going with Iran. We have put it on hold for the last few days. Strikes. Some people surmise that it might be sort of so the focus could be on Lindsey Graham and these key meetings. Also, maybe there'll be some new intel shared by Benjamin Netanyahu when he meets with President Trump tomorrow. And there's also reports that Russia seems to be sharing intel with Iran and facilitating Iran. There's a whole bunch of new details on that. So here is President Trump today. He's on Air Force One, and he says, yeah, we have a lot of assets in theater. We have a lot of military might in theater. We're not ruling anything in or out, including negotiations, because he says they do seem to be coming to the table. So this could go either way, guys. Take a listen to President Trump on Air Force One.
We've pretty much destroyed their military. They want to meet, and we're meeting. We'll see what happens. There's a chance we can make a deal. Without what we did, they wouldn't even be talking to us. They requested a meeting through their surrogates and directly. And we're meeting, and, good things can happen. I guess oil dropped very big today. Stock markets, as of about an hour ago, was like through the roof. But no, they requested a meeting. They would not have requested the meeting if we were doing poorly. The only reason they want to meet is because we've been hitting them very hard.
He says the only reason they want to meet is because we have been hitting them very hard. And then he also said that this is how we will use the money. That, remember, U.S. has a whole bunch of frozen Iranian assets. And he says we would use it somehow to work in the reconstruction for the damage that they did either over there, or also maybe we would use it at the U.S. bases because, of course, Iran continues to hammer at U.S. bases. Take a listen.
You said that Iranian assets will be used to pay for damages to ships that are hit in the Strait of Hormuz. Would the U.S. pay shipping companies directly?
No, we're going to use Iran's money to pay for the damage they did. In other words, the Iran money that we control will be used to pay for damages. Sound good? Not bad, right? He should be reported. Okay.
So he's saying they will have to pay for the damages. That is more than appropriate. And here's Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump. And she says she has no doubt that China and Russia are doing some nefarious activities. And this is very important because Iran may be losing military might, but they may be getting more military precision courtesy of these two adversaries.
Well, the targeting is for sure because Iran is definitely running low on missiles. If you look at the numbers they were firing off at the beginning of the war, well over 100 a day, they're now down to single digits. They're running out. But they're being much more precise about them. So I think you do have both Russia and China providing satellite imagery that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. And that's how we lost those folks in Jordan last Friday, very tragically for our country. But it shows you what the Iranians are up to. And then if it be true that the Ukrainians who are very active on the Caspian, and everybody's got to get a map out, look at the Three Seas area, see how critical this is. And remember that even while we're so focused on the Strait of Hormuz and the western part of Iran, there is the northern part, and that can be a key smuggling route for them. We haven't really carried out any strikes there, but that's something we could very much expand if the Russians are trying to sneak things in through that route.
And that would be a very big deal if indeed they are sneaking weapons to Iran. And also, as you just heard, providing satellite technology. So they're able to pinpoint where specific sort of U.S. bases and particular assets tied to the bases that may not be publicly known. Also, CIA dark sites. How are they getting this information? She brings up a very powerful point, too, that they don't have necessarily as many missiles, but they seem to be having a better target. And there are definitely multiple reports out there that Russia and China are providing that kind of intel. So obviously that is a very big deal, and we need to get to the bottom of it. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of information does Zelensky provide to the president tomorrow, to President Trump, because he's going to be meeting with Zelensky and he's also going to be meeting with Netanyahu. And of course, all three men will be at that powerful memorial service to honor Lindsey Graham. And also, meantime, Mayor Mamdani is still talking about Netanyahu, and he's saying that he's not anti-Semitic. He just doesn't like Netanyahu and the Israeli government. So he's trying to definitely play word games here. There is no doubt about it. And then he continues to do the woe is me on Islamophobia. There was a new cry this weekend, and understandably so, from a whole bunch of families tied to 9/11 who lost loved ones on that horrific day here in America. And a number of these families are now coming out and saying that they do not want Zohran Mamdani to be at the 25th anniversary commemorations at Ground Zero. Totally understandable. I can't say I blame them. Obviously, it's up to the families, whatever they would like. They went through such horrible ordeals that day and every day since over the loss. And I do really believe it's up to them. But if many of them feel strongly that there shouldn't be a Zohran Mamdani at the 25th anniversary, I agree. I mean, all his rhetoric has been so just reprehensible. I mean, coddling a lot of these Islamist extremists, his wife liking the social media post right after October 7th. I mean, there are so many things that are so reprehensible. And you have to wonder, who is he supporting? What's he doing? Well, let's go down memory lane a little bit, because remember, right before the election, he said, boy, everybody is just Islamophobic and woe is me, was basically the message from Mamdani. Remember this?
The consequences amidst this inaction are stark. More than 1 million Muslims in this city existing all while being made to feel as if we are guests in our own home. No more.
And remember, he talked about his auntie, who after 9/11 got those nasty looks from people. Remember that one? And here's another one that he said, that there will always be these terrible things happening to Muslims in New York. Meantime, the Jewish population in New York City, by the way, is 10%. It's huge. It's the biggest population outside of Israel in a major city by far. And yet the hate crimes are 55%. That should speak volumes. Here's a little bit more from the mayor. Remember this one?
I could build a campaign of universality. I could define myself as the leader I aspire to be, one representing every New Yorker, no matter their skin color or religion, no matter where they were born. I thought that if I worked hard enough, it would allow me to be that leader. And I thought that if I behaved well enough or bit my tongue enough in the face of racist, baseless attacks, all while returning back to my central message, it would allow me to be more than just my faith. I was wrong. No amount of redirection is ever enough.
And then here's the one where he talked about his auntie. Remember, after 9/11, he didn't talk about the victims of 9/11. He talked about his auntie getting a dirty look on the subway, which is a little minor compared to what the 9/11 families went through.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
So his auntie said she didn't feel safe on the subway in New York. Nobody feels safe on the subway in New York, by the way. And he got emotional talking about his aunt getting a dirty look on the subway. What about what happened to all those families who lost loved ones that day because of Islamic terrorists? What about that, Mr. Mayor? And then today he was asked, are you going to show up? You heard about the families. Are you going to show up on 9/11? And he said, yeah, I will. Here it is.
A number of people who are survivors of 9/11 are calling on you not to go to 9/11 memorial services. I wonder how you feel about the fact that they're trying to keep you away.
I will proudly honor the families, the survivors, the first responders forever impacted by that horrific terror attack by standing alongside them at this year's 9/11 commemoration, reaffirming that we will never forget the solemn day felt by all of us who call this city home and, frankly, by all of us who call this country home.
What do you make of that answer? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show. The Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to your calls here on The Rita Cosby Show, a busy news night. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Alice in Ohio. Line 1. Go ahead, Alice.
Hi, Rita. I was going to say something about Biden, but we had 4 years of him, and enough is enough. It'd be like watching paint dry. But you inspired me.
By the way, paint might be more interesting, Alice, but go ahead.
Yes, at least you could do something intelligent with it. Another thing, you inspired me with Iran. We need to go in and finish the job because these people are just playing for time. Another thing, too, about your mayor. He's disgusting. I wish you had a recall. You could recall this man. He's ruining the city. He should be kept away from the 9/11. 25 years is an important landmark in that day. Those families, he has no feelings for those families. It was one of his brethren. It was some of his brethren who caused this grief. And these people will live with this for the rest of their lives. This whole country will live with that for the rest of their lives. He didn't have the decency to show up for the Israel Day parade. So why should he be allowed to attend this ceremony?
Well, and I think, Alice, I actually think a lot of it should rest on the 9/11 families.
Yeah.
I think obviously we have to see like how they feel. Maybe they all have a vote. And if it's, a majority vote or if it's more importantly a consensus, hopefully, because you hate to see them sort of feeling different things or different emotions. But hopefully, if it turns out to be basically a consensus decision, then I don't think he should go. If the consensus is that they don't want him there, so far a number of families have come forward and said they don't want to see him there. Let's see between now and then what the families decide. But if they don't want him there, I don't think he should be there then, Alice, right?
No, they should tie him to a chair in the Blue Room in Gracie Mansion and lock the doors.
Yeah, for him to
keep him away.
Right, and act like it's no big deal. I mean, like that everything he has said is sort of supposed to be like, we just played those clips. All he talked about when he was talking about 9/11 was his auntie getting a dirty look on the subway. I mean, to me, I remember when he said that, I was appalled because it is nothing compared to what the victims endured. Nothing.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from the town of Ulster, New York, where police rescued a suicidal man from a bridge in the Hudson Valley as he tried to climb over the railing. Ulster 911 received a call and officers rushed to the scene minutes before 10 o'clock. Police say that the man climbed over the railing and began physically resisting officers who were attempting to stop him from jumping. The man then dropped to a position where he was hanging off the bridge from the concrete barrier. Working together, officers held onto the man while a sheriff's deputy secured him with a rope. A Spanish-speaking deputy was eventually able to convince the man to climb back over the railing with the assistance of officers. Thankfully, the man was unharmed. He was taken to a hospital for a mental health evaluation, but thankful to be alive thanks to our men and women in blue. Well, we are talking about Zohran Mamdani, who, by the way, just put out a list today listing all of these second homes, these individuals who have second homes in New York, names and addresses, saying here are the people who have homes that could potentially be taxed as second homes. These are individuals who don't really use up a lot of New York City services, but guess what? Now he wants to tax them and drive them out of New York City. These are a lot of people who have businesses in New York. like Ken Griffin. Remember when he put out that ad saying, here's where Ken Griffin lives? And guess what? Surprise, surprise. Then suddenly Ken Griffin started pulling back on projects in New York. The very successful real estate hedge fund guy. He didn't want to do much more business because he was like, forget this. If Zohran Mamdani seems to be so unfriendly and he's singling out my property, well, now guess what? Zohran Mamdani put out a list of all the people that could potentially get this second home tax. And it's a pretty lengthy list. And it's a complete harassment and a complete intrusion. And what he's going to do is truly drive major business out of New York, because who wants to have their name and address? And hey, here's how the worth of this property. Here's how I'm going to drive people out even more out of New York. It is a mess. But this is New York under Zohran Mamdani. And it seems to be the Democratic Socialist platform all the way around. He's just kind of living up to it and doing what everybody else sort of says as well. And in fact, I want to play this clip. This is cut number 36. And this is the Democratic Socialists of America National Co-Chair, Megan Romer. She was on Fox News, and it was eye-opening. She was talking to my buddy Shannon Bream, who asked some very simple questions, and she just gave yes or no answers. And boy, were they revealing. Take a listen.
Of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that, as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then let's go back through some of those then. Abolish the Senate. There are people who are in the Senate now who are very supportive of DSA. They lose their seats?
Well, the Senate is an anachronistic institution.
Well, yeah, abolish prisons, abolish Senate, abolish this, abolish that. It is complete lunacy. But she didn't hedge. She was like, yeah, abolish the Senate. Yep, abolish prisons. Next question. Can you imagine living in a world like that? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sal in New Jersey on line 4. Sal, your thoughts about all this? Boy, oh boy.
Hello, Rita. I'd like to abolish the Democratic Socialists of America. That's what I would like to abolish. But the reason why I call Rita is because having Zohran Mamdani at ground zero this September 11th is like having a Nazi war criminal at a Holocaust memorial. This man has no business to be in there. He cozied up to that guy that carried out that was in cahoots with the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center.
Yep. Ramzi Youssef,
yes.
With the guy who was sort of the character witness folks. I mean,
right.
He had all these ties, and he seemed to be. He also, you look at the background, Sal. You look at the fact his wife liked that tweet after October 7th that essentially was trying to justify what happened and celebrating what happened, which was just so repulsive. And then you look at his father seemed to be justifying suicide bombers. I mean,
yes.
It's shocking. And he still maintains to this moment that he still believes that Netanyahu was a war criminal and is, quote, not welcome. And then he's also trying to inspire the crowd to protest when Netanyahu decides to come, as he said he will come, to the UN General Assembly in New York. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff, because you see these protests, Sal, that already happen, and they're already dangerous. They get out of hand. They're crazy. They're very, very concerning. And often these protests, Jewish students don't feel safe. And Netanyahu, I'm sure, already has massive security around him, massive security issues. And then you throw in this cauldron of somebody saying, hey, go out and protest and make it even more uncomfortable. What do you say to that, Sal?
Sure, and Rita, I think we should have mass protests of Mamdani when Netanyahu comes to New York. We should have all the Jewish people and Christians too should have mass protests on behalf of Netanyahu because he's our friend and ally. He's an outpost. Israel is an outpost of the United States in the Middle East. They're our friend and ally. And
Sal, you think there should be protests for him, right? Cheering him on.
Yes,
in other words.
Absolutely.
That's a great point, Sal. That actually is a great point. Wouldn't that be lovely to say, hey, we're here, to fully support him and say bravo? Because just like you said, they are the only democracy, the only true democracy in that part of the world.
Rita, right. And Rita, I would also like to say, concerning the war in Iran, air power is not going to do it all by itself to defeat Iran. We have to go in with an army. Our army has to go in there. Our Special Forces army has to go in there and finish the job.
When you say Special Forces, you're talking about limited operation? And also maybe the Israelis might play some sort of role in some sort of limited operation. I mean, they're terrific too.
Absolutely, it could be a joint. Effort between the United States and Israel.
The only thing you got to be careful is, Sal, and I know you know this, and boy, if you look at the polls, obviously there's a lot of mixed emotions about the war in Iran now that it's continuing to go on. And also, there's a lot of mixed emotions about even the thought of ground troops, even in a very limited capacity. But a lot of military experts are saying what you're saying, especially if we're trying to get something like Carg Island or just sort of some sort of limited operation. A lot of people are saying that might be the best way to go, but very limited, very, very limited, very strategic. More for sort of like the Marines sort of, strategic sort of seizure operation. Maybe something like that. Or maybe the Israelis do it. I mean, as I brought up, maybe it's both. Maybe it's either or. Sal, thank you very, very much. Let's go to Mike on the Lower East Side. Go ahead, Mike, on line 5. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, it's actually Upper East Side, but that's okay, dear.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, you are very much affiliated with the Tunnel to Towers, with the Men in Blue charities. Please have someone contact them and send an official letter to Mamdani. You are not wanted at that memorial.
What do you think they should? I think, Michael, obviously they and everybody should listen to what the families want, what the families specifically are saying. But they clearly represent many of the families. Yeah. And like you just said, Stephen Siller, obviously, who started this whole thing, that hero firefighter who ran through the tunnels. What do you think of Mamdani being down there, Michael, too? Because he's saying he's planning on being there, Michael.
Well, the only problem is there is probably not enough spit to cover him entirely. It's a disgrace, and they're talking about his aunt. And he doesn't say a thing about the Jews in Brooklyn and elsewhere here in Manhattan that have been beaten up. But he talks about how his aunt doesn't feel safe, really. But still, let's please ask Tunnel to Towers and Men in Blue if they would be willing to send a letter to Mamdani, stay the heck away.
Mike, good points. Listen, I totally hear your frustration. And I think a lot of people feel that way. The families feel that way in big time. We'll see where it goes because you're right. Maybe. Like you just said, they might write something because they certainly qualify. They represent all the families. They went through it. And then let's see what the other families say. I think the most important thing, Mike, is that they understand, that he listens to them. And so far, it doesn't seem that he is. He's just kind of going full steam ahead. And that's a problem, Mike. He seems that tone deafness works.
If I may, Rita, I think the reason why President Trump has not been attacking Iran in the last couple of days is not because he wants to negotiate with them. I think we are out of armaments that are necessary for this attack.
Well, this is tough times right now, Mike. And what do you make, by the way, of also of Netanyahu coming? He said he's going to come to the UN General Assembly, and guess what? Zohran Mamdani's encouraging people to protest. What do you make of that, Michael?
Yeah. What else is new? But when you say protest, he is doxing all these people with dual homes, and you don't think the rabid members of the socialists are not going to protest at each and every address? This is disgusting.
I agree. I think it is so horrible that he put that out. It's like it's the same thing like asking for trouble for when Netanyahu comes to the UN General Assembly. It's harassment. And it's the same thing with these individuals, too. A number of them have already had people show up at their locations. And what about like Ken Griffin, too? I mean, that's the other thing. Ken Griffin, at like every turn, he actually was the guy in that ad. I mean, that was so shocking, Michael, that he stood there, in front of Ken Griffin's home and said, hey, over here, this is where Ken Griffin lives. Yeah. And now he's done that to thousands upon thousands of New Yorkers. I'm with you, Michael. It is so horrible. It's despicable. It is harassment. And I just think it's so horrible. And apparently also some of the names on there are not correct also. So not only will people are being harassed because they're successful and hiring people in New York and contributing to the society. This is not appropriate behavior in any shape or form. I 100% agree with you on every level there, Michael. Thank you very, very much. Let's go to Liz in Florida on line 4. Liz, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. Hope you're doing great.
You too.
You sound wonderful.
Thanks.
You. So listen, the governor of New York only cares about the votes. She wants to be reelected. So my idea is if we could convince her that she might have a chance against Bruce Blakeman if she removes Mamdani immediately, that could be plan A. Now, of course, the smart voters will never vote for her, but let her think that that would be a reason she might be reelected.
I like your reverse psychology. That's actually very good, Liz. The problem is, I don't think she thinks that. And you're right. Maybe there's some way that she would see it as a liability to her political future. But I think right now she seems to be embracing him on every, form. I haven't heard her condemning him. That's a problem. And there isn't that checks and balances. If it was Bruce Blakeman,
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls, guys. Let's go to Matt in the Bronx on line 2. Go ahead, Matt.
Never sleep. With regard to Iran, I wanted to recommend the UN's review. That's unz.com.
Yeah, get to the point.
There's an excellent article on there that concerns our situation currently, militarily speaking, in the Iran war. And one of the things, the salient details that they pointed out is that the missile inventory and weapons and munitions inventory that the United States has been relying on militarily to conduct the war in Iran is depleting rapidly, and we don't have enough missiles to complete any substantial damage on Iran itself. Secondly, many of the facilities that Iran uses to manufacture its weapons are underground.
Wait, Matt, whose side are you on here? I mean, are you saying that Iran is better suited militarily? That's a joke. I mean, you got to be serious about that. If it's the U.S., which we can always use more weaponry, but we're still the greatest country in the world, the most powerful. And if you got us and Israel, you actually think Iran's military is going to be able to win out?
Well, we had the same hubris in Vietnam. Oh, we can defeat the Ho Chi Minh, and we can defeat the Viet Cong, and we can defeat the North Vietnamese. And lo and behold, we ended up running with our tail between our legs.
And by the way, obviously Vietnam, was a mess. It doesn't take away from the heroism of the fighters. But you look at what's going on now. This is not like, forever war. Let's see where the next few weeks and months go, Matt.